What does assonance mean? Assonance means the repetition of vowel sounds. So winter's moon is compared to the poetess mother also, who is looking very dull and lifeless. Repetition of any consonant sound is called as a consonance. Whenever as and like words come, that is nothing but simile. So what is the complexity that you can see over here in this poem? Okay, so the fear of losing her mother. Hello everyone, a warm welcome to all the young minds of Class 12 Cbse. I am Dr. Shalini, your English teacher at PrepSchool. So welcome to another session of English. Today we are here to discuss about one of the poems given to you by Class 12 Cbse. So today we are going to discuss about My Mother at 66. So let us see what is there in today's session, and we'll understand one of the most beautiful poems written by one of the poetess. So let us start our session. In the previous session, we had discussed about one of the prose parts, that is the Lost Spring. So today we are here to discuss about one of the poems. So what is there in today's session? So first we are going to discuss about the poetess. We are going to understand about the poetess. Second, we will have the poem. Okay, so thirdly, we'll have this summary with the literary devices. So one of the striking features of poems is literary devices. So that we are going to understand. We will also understand the new words that are used by the poetess in this poem. Then we will understand the rhyme scheme. At last, we will have the theme of the poem. So why delay? Let us begin our session today. So to understand, we'll start with the author. She is Madhavi Kutty, that is her pen name, but she is called as Kamala Das, that is her original name. Okay, so Kamala Das used to write in the name of Madhavi Kutty, her one-time pen name. Okay, so she was writing in English as well as Malayalam, Malayalam being her mother tongue. Okay, so she used to write in Malayalam as well as English. Many of her Malayalam writings are translated to English also, and also to other languages. Okay, so English was her major works were written in English. Okay, so she was also famous for her short stories as well as autobiographies. Okay, she wrote her autobiography, and she also is famous for her short stories. So basically she has a very common theme that is reflected in her poems as well as short stories, that is the intricacies of human nature. Okay, so that is shown there in all her short stories as well as poems. She was working as a columnist who wrote about women's issues. Okay, she used to write about women's issues, about children, and also politics. Okay, so yes, she was very well acclaimed, but at the same time she was a little controversial writer also. So now let us move on to the next part of our session, that is the poem. Okay, the speciality of this poem is from the beginning till the end it is only one sentence. Okay, other than that there are few punctuations that are used, but there is no full stop that is there in between. Okay, so this is completely only one sentence. Okay, so the whole poem is written only in one sentence. Fine. Driving from my parents' home to Cochin last Friday morning, I saw my mother beside me, doze, open-mouthed, her face ashen like that of a corpse, and realized with pain that she was as old as she looked, but soon put that thought away and looked at young trees sprinting and the merry children spilling out of their homes. But after the airport's security check, standing a few yards away, I looked again at her, wan, pale as a late winter's moon, and felt that old familiar ache, my childhood's fear. But all I said was, see you soon, Amma. All I did was smile and smile and smile. So this is the poem. Since it was very short, I just read it for you. So now let us go stanza by stanza. Of course, there is no bifurcation of stanzas here, but we'll just take a few lines and we will understand the summary as well as the new words that are there. So to begin with, let us start with the first three lines. Driving from my parents' home to Cochin last Friday morning, I saw my mother beside me. So this is very easy to understand. isn't it? It's a very commonly used English language that is used over here. So here when you see, there are no new words, okay? So there are no difficult words that are used over here. But we need to understand the literary device that is there, okay? So the literary device that is used is assonance, okay? So you have assonance here. What does assonance mean? Assonance means the repetition of vowel sounds, okay? So you know this vowel, right? A, E, I, O, U, the vowel sounds, okay? So repetition of vowel sounds is called as assonance. Fine. Repetition of any consonant sound is called as a consonance. Repetition of vowel sound is called as a assonance, okay? So here you can see, to Cochin last Friday morning. So here you can see thrice this letter O is repeated, okay? So that is the literary device that is used in these three lines, okay? So as of now, there are no new words that are used over here, okay? So the poet is talking about her journey to Cochin, okay? So she was returning from her parents' house to Cochin last Friday morning. Okay, the previous Friday morning she was returning. I saw my mother beside me. So her mother was beside her. Okay, so how was she? Now she starts describing her mother. Okay, so we assume that her mother is 66 years old because that is what the title says. Okay, so her mother was sitting beside her. And how does she describe her mother? Let us just understand now. Doze, that means sleeping, okay? Doze means to have a nap, that means sleeping, okay? So open mouthed means her mouth was open, because when you sleep, you don't know how you sleep, isn't it? Either your mouth may be open or may be closed. So this mother's mouth was open. Her face ashen, ashen meaning pale, okay? There is no life in it, okay? So that that activeness is not there in her face, okay? So she was very pale, her face ashen like that of a corpse. What does corpse mean? It is dead body, okay? So you use carcass for this one, animals or dead body, okay? So for humans we use corpse, okay? So carcass is dead body of animals, okay? So only with animals we use this, whereas with humans we use corpse. So now coming back to the poem. So her face ashen like that of a corpse and realized with pain. So she has some pain inside her. Okay, so she was looking like a corpse. She was looking like a dead body. That is because she did not have that activeness. Maybe she is undergoing some pain. Maybe she is undergoing some problem. She is facing some health issues. So that is what the poetess says indirectly. Okay, so these are the few new words that are used in these two lines. So let us understand the literary devices over here. The first one is assonance. Okay, so use of vowel sound, as I told you before. So here O, A and E, these are repeated. Okay, so doze, open-minded. Here again E is repeated. Okay, mouthed, her, all these. Okay, A is repeated. Okay, of that, of a, corpse, okay, her face, ashen, all these three vowels are repeated. The sounds are repeated. Okay, so that's why here assonance is used as a literary device. Let us move on to the next one, which is the most commonly used literary device. Simile, by now you must have been a master in simile, isn't it? So here the color of the mother's face has been compared to that of a corpse, ashen. Okay, so here you can see that word like. Okay, whenever the word like or as comes, as and like, we know that whenever as and like words come, that is nothing but simile. Okay, so here there is a comparison with the usage of words as and like. Okay, so such words suggest us that it is simile. Okay, so in these two lines we have two literary devices that are used. One is assonance and the other one is simile. Okay, so now let us move on to the next stanza. Okay, so that she was, stanza in the sense, next three lines I'm talking about. Okay, so that she was as old as. Okay, so here you can see as old as, again here it is, as old as she looked, but soon put that thought away and looked at young trees sprinting, the merry children spilling out of their homes. Okay, so here there are few words here. Indirect comparison is made. Spilling is to let out. Okay, so children spilling out of their homes means children are being let out of their homes. Okay, children can't be put in a container and they can't spill out. isn't it? So spilling is, the actual meaning of spilling is not taken, but they are let out. So coming out is the consideration over here. Okay, so that is the meaning to be considered over here. Next we have sprinting. Sprint actually means to run very quickly, to run swiftly. Okay, so here again moving fast is the meaning here. Okay, so let us go through again. That she was as old as she looked, but soon put that thought. So here do not get confused, as old as she looked. Here there is no comparison made. Okay, old as what? There is no comparison made there. So that cannot be a simile. Okay, so whenever I say as is there, so it is simile. No, it is wrong. As old as what? As clever as an owl. Okay, as white as snow. So that comparison is not here. So this cannot be simile. Okay, so keep it in mind. Then coming back to this consonants, we use the sounds. Okay, so before we saw assonance and this is consonant. Repetition of sounds like s and t, that is consonant. Okay, so these both are consonants. So here you can see sprinting and t, soon put that. Okay, so this way the poetess has repeated s and t sounds. Okay, so that has to be considered, and that is called as consonants, not assonance, it is consonants. Okay, so then we have this imagery. Okay, what is imagery? The poet tells about the trees sprinting. Okay, young trees sprinting. So here you can see that the trees do not run quickly. Okay, but due to her traveling, okay, due to her moving quickly, the trees appear to be running quickly. Okay, so there is a visual image that is created which doesn't exist, but that is there in your mind. So when you imagine what the author is telling, what the poetess is telling, so that gives you a picture of trees running. Okay, it is not that the trees are running, but the movement of trees is what comes to your mind. So that is imagery. That means that creates a visual effect in your mind. Okay, so that is also another literary device that is used here. At last we have this repetition. Okay, so here you can see looked, the word looked. Okay, it is repeated twice. Okay, so that is repeated twice, and that is also a literary device. Okay, so repetition is also a literary device. So in these three lines we have three different literary devices that are used, and reminding you not to think that as old as is a simile. Okay, so let us move on to the next remaining three lines. Okay, so here, but after the airport's security check, so now it is clear that she has reached the airport. Okay, so after that security check and all, standing a few yards away, so she is already little away from her mother, I looked again at her, wan and pale. Okay, so here what does wan mean? It means dim or weak. Again, pale. Pale is the meaning. She doesn't have energy. That activeness is not there in her mother. Okay, so pale, it is dull or colorless. Fine. Wan, these both almost mean the same. Okay, they carry the same meaning. So she is looking at her mother. She appears to be aged. She appears to be without energy. Okay, so that is what the poetess is describing here. So after the airport security check, now she's looking at her mother from a little farther distance. Okay, so from there when she sees her mother appears to be little weak, pale, dim, she doesn't have energy, like that. Okay, so now what is the literary device that is used? There is only one literary device, that is S and R are repeated. So this comes under consonants, because these both are consonants and that is repeated here. So where does it repeat here? You can just see here. Okay, after R is repeated, airports security check, standing, again sir is repeated. Okay, again you can see yards, her, all these, R is repeated. Okay, so some places you can also guess somewhere T sound may be repeated, that also can be considered as consonants. Okay, so it depends on you how you read it and you give it as examples. Okay, so this was the other two lines which we saw just now. The last three lines now. Okay, so as a late winter's moon and felt that old familiar. Okay, so ache, my childhood's fear. So here you can see old familiar ache means initially, like sometime before, she had that pain. The poetess had that pain in her. Okay, now again that childhood's fear. Okay, what was that pain? That was her fear during her childhood. So what was that fear? What was she afraid of? Okay, so that was losing her mother. Okay, so the poetess was actually very scared to lose her mother. Okay, even when she was a child. Okay, so that time only she had thought about it. Okay, so she was afraid of losing her mother. But all I said was, again, though she is getting those thoughts in her mind, she is just trying to avoid it. She's trying to divert her mind, looking at the trees, looking at the children, all these. Okay, so she's trying to divert her mind. She's thinking that she should not get that thought. Okay, even you for that matter, sometimes when you get some thoughts, right, so you also feel, no, I should not think like this thought shouldn't come to me. So you also will be having that fear. Okay, so similarly, the poetess also had that fear of losing her mother. Okay, so she thought that she should not take the thoughts in her mind, she should not give energy to that thoughts, and she thinks, see you soon. So she wishes to see her mom soon. Okay, amma is a common word used to address your mother, right? So usually many places in southern part of India, they address as amma only. Okay, the poetess also used to call her mother amma only. So she wishes to see her again. Okay, so amma, all I did was smile and smile and smile. So she didn't want those thoughts to spoil her mindset. Okay, so what she did, see, she smiled again and again. Okay, so she didn't want her thoughts, her fears to destroy her happiness of seeing her mother. So she smiles at her mother and wishes to see her mother again. Okay, so let us now understand what are the literary devices that are used. There is no new word here in these three lines. Okay, so then we'll move on to the literary devices. You can see the repetition of smile is there. Okay, so why does the poetess repeat it? It is just to create the poetic effect on the reader. Okay, that's why she repeats it. Okay, so simile, there is a simile also. Your mother's face is actually compared to the late winter's moon. So what happens in late winter's moon? They are actually dull, okay, and lifeless. How do you know it is lifeless and it is very dull? That is because the winter's moon, right, because of the mist and all, it cannot be seen clearly. Okay, so that doesn't appear clearly. It is not visible clearly to the people who are watching it. Okay, so that similar thing is compared to here. Okay, so winter's moon is compared to the poetess mother also, who is looking very dull and lifeless. Okay, so as is used. Okay, so that means it is simile. Okay, so there are two literary devices that are there in these three lines also. Okay, so now I think the literary devices and the new words are all clear to you. Now let us move on to the rhyme scheme of this poem. So what is the rhyme scheme? It is written in free verse, means how you speak, it is written just like that. Free verse means there are no rhyme schemes at all. Okay, free verse doesn't have rhyme scheme at all. Okay, if you go back to the poem and check, okay, you can see that you cannot identify the ending words of the stanza. Right, first of all, there is no bifurcation of stanzas at all. Okay, and next we don't have that ending words only. Okay, so the whole poem, I said, it is only a single sentence. Okay, so that's why it is written in free verse. Free verse means it does not have a rhyme scheme at all. Okay, so the whole poem is single sentence, as I told, and it is separated only by commas. Okay, so only one thought is running in the poetess mind, and that is being exhibited here. Okay, so the observations of real world is exhibited. Okay, so the poet compares the outside world along with her family. Okay, so her mother is compared to the elements in the outside world. Okay, so that is the comparison over here. So that is the main idea of the poem. So that is why it becomes a free verse here. Okay, so going on to this theme, what is the theme over here? So as I said, the most common theme of Kamala Das poetry, or the short stories for that matter, most of them have this only, the complexities of human relationship. So what is the complexity that you can see over here in this poem? Okay, so the fear of losing her mother, that is a complex human relationship. Okay, so you love somebody the most and you are at the verge of losing them. That fear that is created in you, okay, so that is uncomparable to anything. That fear actually leads to lot of stress and all. Okay, so that complex human relationship that is there, all that is intricately exhibited in this poem. Okay, so it may be only one line that shows that she's scared of losing her mother, but what does she go through? How does she avoid those thoughts? Okay, so noting that is really wonderful. Okay, so the poetess has put it in only one sentence but in wonderful words. Okay, so that's all for today. Let us move on to the next topic in the next session. So again, we will meet in another poem. So in the next session, we will discuss about the elementary school in a slum. So as of now, I would request you to go through the poem, read all the literary devices, compare it and come back to the class prepared in the coming session, so that we'll be discussing about this poem, My Mother at 66, written by Kamala Das or Madhvi Kutti. Okay, so let us meet again shortly, children. See you soon. Take care. Keep learning. Till I see you. Bye-bye.